Hey everybody, I'll be taking over this video for Steve. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Justin Pangburn, and today we're going to cover Roth conversions, how they work, why they're done, when they should be done, and the optimization behind them. Now, this one's a bit more lengthy than our usual videos, but as always, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot those back to us and we'd be happy to discuss. So, to Roth or not to Roth? That is the question. Roth conversions are an advanced planning strategy that we've been dealing with a handful of our clients, and it seems to be becoming a more popular conversation among them. Now, before I start, there are a few disclosure items. One, this is lengthy and technical, and I'll do my best to put this in layman's terms for you. Two, before we implement any of these strategies, we really encourage our clients to reach out to their CPA or tax preparer for final blessing. In fact, right now, we're running this analysis for a client and working very closely with their CPA. Three, this strategy is specific to each individual, so understand recommendations are only rendered after a complete and thorough conversation with each client if interested. These are concepts I'm throwing out here today, not recommendations. 4. The strategy we're talking about today deals with existing IRA monies and Roth conversions, not new monies. New monies are a separate tax concept with a completely separate set of robust tax rules that cannot be confused with this. And 5. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of the conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to take a required minimum distribution or an RMD in the year that you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA. So, why am I bringing all this up? Let's first talk about what it means to take an existing IRA and convert some of those dollars to a Roth IRA. And then we'll move on to the types of clients that should be considering Roth conversions. So an existing IRA to Roth conversion is purely just taking your IRA with fully deductible dollars and converting those dollars to a Roth IRA. Fully deductible dollars means that we're dealing with an IRA that has never been taxed before at all, where you've taken deductions on your contributions all along. Now, let's preface with what a deductible IRA is versus a Roth. A deductible IRA, commonly referred to as a traditional IRA, but can mean two separate things, is an IRA where you've contributed for some time and have taken deductions for your contributions along the way. And today, we're dealing with fully deductible IRAs. While the monies sit in the IRA and are hopefully growing, you're not paying taxes on those dollars. When you take them out, there will be ordinary income taxes and potentially a 10% penalty if you do not meet a qualifying event, for example, being age 59 and a half, etc. Now, a Roth IRA is a type of IRA where when the monies go in after tax, meaning that you do not get a deduction, unlike a traditional deductible IRA. While the monies grow in the Roth, you don't pay taxes, and if you take out for a qualifying event, usually 59 and a half, but not always, the monies are completely tax-free. Next, when it comes to a conversion, we are effectively converting our deductible IRA into a Roth IRA. Now, before we get into the technical, let's talk about high level why people would want to do this. So, individuals perform this conversion to get future tax-free growth. I say future because the minute you do the conversion, you pay taxes on the monies that you've converted. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would I convert monies from a deductible IRA to a Roth IRA and pay taxes when I was going to pay taxes anyways? The answer is that it lies in the growth. So let me explain. Let's assume someone has a $100,000 deductible IRA and they decide to take $50,000 and convert to a Roth IRA. Let's assume they are over 59 and a half to make things real easy and there's no IRS penalty since they are now 59 and a half or above. Here, they would pay taxes on the $50,000 that they convert. Let's assume that they are in the 25% tax bracket. So, they would be paying $12,500 in taxes to complete the conversion. Now, with that conversion, you must wait the greater of 5 years or age 59 and a half to get at the monies, or there could be taxes and penalty. And, which is important, even if you've passed away in year 2, your beneficiaries must wait an additional 3 years to get at the monies. So, what you've done here is you've paid $12,500 in taxes, and the hope is that the $50,000 that you've converted grows to more than $62,500 to compensate for the taxes paid. So, rule number 1 to conversions. They generally make the most sense if you have a long enough time horizon to make up the lost monies due to paying taxes. In other words, you want your account to grow to more than the total amount of the conversion and the taxes paid combined. Now, this is a very straightforward example, about as straightforward as this concept can be, but let's start taking this to the next level now. Let's look at where you are versus where you will be tax bracket wise. If let's say you are in your first year of full retirement, your income from work has dropped off, then you may be in a lower tax bracket than previously. If that's the case, you may consider converting some IRA monies to Roth, because remember, conversions are taxed at your ordinary income levels. So if you were making, let's say, $100,000 a year, and you converted $50,000 a year, you now actually made $150,000 that year. But let's say you're retired, no income through work at all, and you convert $50,000 in a year, you may be in a lower tax bracket. Effectively, you want to pay the taxes when you're making less income. So, rule number 2, Roth conversions typically make sense when you're in a lower tax bracket, so there's not as much pressure on bumping you up to a higher tax bracket. So now there's one item to be aware of. Conversions boost your taxable income, and if you're in the Medicare years of retirement, it may boost your income enough where your IRMA or Medicare Part B and Part D premiums are increased. The increase occurs 2 years later for the calendar year in which your income went up, so each year Medicare looks at 2 years prior. Also, be aware of how this may affect STAR or other state or local credits specific to your area. Generally speaking, if the tax-free growth you can capture by holding these Roth dollars long-term can overcompensate for the Medicare premium spike and or STAR credits, then you're really trading short-term pain for potentially long-term benefits. But once again, just a heads up that these items can be affected. So, building onto this rule, Rule 2B, let's assume that you're in a lower tax bracket, you're retired, and you say, Steve or Justin, my tax bracket's never going up. Well, in this situation, Roth conversions still could make sense if A, you think tax rates will stay the same, or B, you think Congress will raise tax rates in the future. So, now moving on to our third rule. Cash is king. Now, this is a popular one among our office. You've probably heard Steve mention this if you've spoken to him about conversions before. So now, this is where the math gets extremely complex, and I won't bore you, but we don't want to trade equivalent tax rate dollars for equivalent tax rate dollars. In other words, if we convert $50,000 to a Roth IRA from a deductible IRA, we want to avoid taking monies from investment accounts to pay the taxes. In the previous example, we owed $12,500 on that $50,000 conversion. So that $12,500, you really don't want that coming from either the IRA or the Roth IRA or another investment account to pay the taxes, because then on that withdrawal to cover the taxes, you may have to pay tax on the $12,500 itself, sort of a double tax whammy if you see where I'm coming from. There's also another reason why you'd want to avoid pulling monies out of a retirement account to pay taxes on Roth dollars, and it deals with the growth, but we won't cover that today. So, rule 3, cash is king. If you don't have the cash to pay the taxes, Roth conversions typically don't make sense 99% of the time. Now, rule 3B, cash is king if only no other purpose. Keep in mind, if that cash is on the sideline for other goals, such as short-term, emergency fund, or other items, we may not be recommending a Roth conversion. Moving on to rule number 4, over-conversion avoidance. So one of the biggest mistakes clients can make is over-converting to Roth dollars. Here's an easy example. Someone has a large IRA, let's say it's worth $1 million, and they want to convert to Roth. Well, that conversion itself would bump you up to the highest tax bracket, thereby having to pull out a sizable amount potentially of net worth to cover the taxes. Here, you're left with a nice Roth conversion, but you've actually given up too much of your total wealth. So rule number 4, avoid over-conversions that can actually do the opposite, cause a negative wealth effect. Okay, moving on to rule number 5. Consider systematic conversions rather than a lump sum conversion. So let's assume that you want to convert a significant amount. Consider spreading these monies out over several years while you're in a low tax bracket environment. The catch is that each conversion, each year, has a new 5-year clock, or greater of 59 and a half, but you've spread out your tax liability, meaning trying to avoid you from jumping up to the highest tax bracket all at once, as in the example above. So rule number 5, sometimes spreading out the conversions makes the most sense, especially while in lower tax years. Okay, and moving on to our last rule, rule number 6. So the dreaded Secure Act 2.0. Since the passing of Secure Act 1.0 and clarification from Congress with 2.0, we now have clearly defined rules as to IRAs and what occurs when a parent passes and leaves money to a child. Most of the time, not always, and we'll emphasize this, the child must deplete the account by the 10th year. Once again, that's most of the time. I won't get into the granulars today, but sometimes the child must even take monies leading up to the 10th year. And this is all situational here. So regardless, think about that. If you've built up an IRA with considerable value, you pass away, and a child must take those monies within 10 years, they are now compressed, meaning their tax bracket could be compressed as well, bumping them up to possibly a higher tax bracket for those withdrawals. So another reason for conversions. You don't need the monies, you want long-term growth, and you're trying to protect the federal income tax bill your children will pay. Now, note that with Roth IRAs, the 10-year rule could still apply, once again situationally, but now your compressed withdrawals have no income tax liability. So, rule 6. The monies are meant for the next generation, and you want to minimize their tax liability. All right, so everyone, we've covered a ton here today, and this can be just the surface of whether to convert to Roth dollars or not. So when we think a Roth conversion makes sense, there's an in-depth interactive analysis that we can run in the background to summarize our thoughts, looking at whether or not to convert, the frequency of the conversions, and the schedule of doing so. Overall, here are some indicators based on the rules above, which could potentially point you towards considering this. So, rule number 1. Do you have a longer-term time horizon until the monies are needed? 2. Are you in a low tax bracket now, or similar to down the road, or do you think Congress will increase taxes down the road? 3. Do you have the cash to cover the taxes owed on the conversion, and the cash is not meant for any other goals? 4. Watch out for conversions and the negative wealth effect. 5. Spreading out the conversions may make the most sense. And 6. Could these monies be left to children without affecting your personal financial goals? Thanks everyone for your time. As always, if you have any questions or think you might be a good Roth conversion candidate, don't hesitate to reach out to us. I hope this helps and enjoy your day.